Hey, hi everyone. Today we are going to see about the introductory researching room. It's like a brief introduction to research skills for pen testing. Okay, so let's get started with this room. So we have an official walkthrough done by Darkster. You can go over this YouTube video also if at all you're okay with that, or else you can just see mine. Okay, let's get started with the task one. So it's about introduction. So I'll just like go over the things what they have written, and we'll just go with the flow. So I'm just getting started with the introduction. Without a doubt, the ability to research effectively is the most important quality for a hacker to have. By its very nature, hacking requires a vast knowledge base because how are you supposed to break into something if you don't know how it works? The thing is, no one knows everything. Everyone will encounter problems which they don't automatically know how to solve. This is where research comes in, as in the real world, you cannot ever expect to simply be handed the answers to your questions. So here, like what they are talking is about, let's say we have a problem and we don't know how to solve it. What we'll generally do? So we'll basically do a research. So how we do a research? Currently we'll go over Google and we'll ask everything like we want. Let's say what is 2 plus 2. If we don't know addition, we'll go and ask Google like how to add. And if at all you're looking for a programming skills, or you need to solve some program, like what is the how to do a how to write a for loop or an if condition in the programming language. So you don't know how to write it. So generally what you will do, go and type like how to write a for loop in Python or C or C sharp, like that. Okay, so that is called research. Okay, so what we'll be looking at is like an example. So we will be looking at the following topics: an example of a research question, vulnerability searching tools, and Linux man pages. Okay, so let's get begin. So read the introduction. So yeah, we have finished that introduction, and I don't go over the entire introduction what they have written. I will just give a quick brief on that. Maybe you can go over like what they have written and read it completely. Okay, and the second task is example research question. So we are going now. I In this task two, we are going to research a question. So we'll begin by looking at a typical research question, the kind that you are likely to find when working through a CTF on TryHackMe. Okay, so let's say you have downloaded a JPEG image from a remote server. You suspect that there's something hidden inside it, but how can you get it out? How about we start by searching for hiding things inside images in Google? Okay, so they have already Googled it, like they have shared a screenshot. So if they will, if we Google like hiding things inside images, what it's coming up? So it's steganography, how to hide secret data inside an image. So you already saw that, right? Let's say I will also try hiding things inside images. So now you can see, right? It's in the top result, steganography, how to hide secret data inside an image. So notice that the second link down gives us the title of a technique, but we already got that as a first link, right? Okay. So we know how it's done. Let's try searching for a way to extract files using steganography. Extract file from JPEG steganography. Okay, we'll do the same. So extract JPEG file from JPEG steganography. So what they are seeing, like they are seeing some results. Already virtually every link is pointing to something useful. The first link contains a collection of useful tools that the second is more instructions on how to perform steganography in the first place. Realistically, any of these links could prove useful, but let's take a look at the first one, something related to github.io. So whether we got that same or not, yeah, so we got the same. Okay, So here they are talking about the steganography and some tools like StegHide is a steganography program that hides data in various kinds of image and audio files. So we can hide some data in images and audio files, but the supported formats are JPEG, BMP, WAV, and AU. So the StegHide can be installed through this apt package manager. So it's like a apt-get install StegHide or steganography. I guess it's StegHide. Yeah. And there are multiple tools like exif tool to hide important stuff is hidden in the metadata of the image or the file, and xev to binwalk jsteg. So all these are related to steganography. I mean, steganography is just generally hiding a file or a message inside of another file. Okay, like in another file means in the jpeg file or audio format, like that. Okay, so the very first tool that looks to be useful, it can be used to extract embedded data from JPEG files. So what we need to do is we need to install something called apt. Let's search that up next. It can be installed with apt, right? So how to install with apt and what is apt? So generally, if you see here, they have searched it, and it's like a advanced packaging tool. So we can perform actions like installation of new software packages or upgrade, like that. So apt is a package manager that lets install tools on Linux distributions like Ubuntu or Kali. Okay, so how we can install packages? So if we Google that, like it's like a research, right? So they're talking about research here, like how we do research. So everything that we are not aware, we are just going to Google it. Okay, so how to install things with apt? Here it says like sudo apt-get install package. Okay, and after that, what they are going to do? Okay, let's switch back to the collection of steganography tools we were looking at before. Did you notice that there were instructions on how to use StegHide right there? So useful commands is like this steghide info file displays info about a file whether it has embedded data or not. So let's install steghide. This is my Kali terminal. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to install steghide. So password for Kali, and it's installing steghide. Okay, so how we can know like the steghide is installed is, right? We'll just type steg and enter tab. So it says like we have the steghide here. Okay, if we enter it, we'll come up with some options. Okay, so here uh, this is like a command line examples, like what are the commands that we need to use. Okay, so and going over here, steghide extract hyphen isf file. Okay, there we go. That's so notice the methodology here. We started with nothing, but gradually build up picture of what we need to do, right? We had a question, how we can extract data from this image. We searched for an answer to that question, then continue to query each of the answers we were given. So it's like we followed some flow. Okay, initially like we searched for how to hide I mean how to hide things inside images. So we came up with steganography. How to extract file from that, we came through steghide, and how to install it through using apt install, and what is the command to install the package. So basically we went like keep on going googling it, like this is called research. Okay, so now it's your turn. See if you can answer the following questions using your research skills. The first three questions have appropriate search queries in the hints. Okay, so now for this tasks we are going to just Google it. I mean, we are going to do a research. Okay, so in the burp suite program that ships with Kali Linux, what mode would you use to manually send a request, often repeating a captured request numerous times? So manually send a request, we'll just go into Google it. Okay, manually send a request burp suite. So it's using burp repeater. See here we can see burp repeater is a simple tool for manually manipulating and reissuing. Okay, so what we are going to type is it's repeater. Okay, so what hash format are modern Windows login passwords stored in? So now Windows login password hash format. So it's a LM hash required by a legacy clients and an NT hash. Okay, we will search for some other things. So NT hash. So LM Windows password security. So results for so far it's like user ID LM hash. It's NTLM LM hash NTLM. Okay, so all are talking about LM and NT. So what's the hint here? Hashing algorithm for Windows. So hashing algorithm for Windows. So SHA-2 algorithms are more secure than SHA-1 algorithm, but SHA-2 has not gained widespread. LANman, Microsoft LANman in the Microsoft LANman hashing. No. What hashing algorithm does Windows 10 use? So NT-hash or NTLM hash? So it's NTLM. Okay. What are automated tasks called in Linux? Automated task called in Linux. So it's referred as cron jobs. Okay, so it's cron jobs. What number base could you use as a shorthand for binary 2? Sorry, base 2. Shorthand for base 2. Shorthand for base 2. Binary is base 2 and uses just 0 and 1. We also use hexadecimal, which is base 16, but this is really just used as shorthand for binary, as you will see. Okay, what they're asking, what number base could you use as shorthand for base 2? Number base. What number base could you use as a shorthand? It's base 8 is a convenient shorthand for base 2 numbers because 8 is a power. Okay, so we are going to try base 8. Base 8. No. What number base could you use as a shorthand for base 2? Sorry, binary. We also use hexadecimal, which is base 16, but this is really just used as shorthand for binary, as you will see. So we will type base 16. Base 16. So base 16 is the right answer, and we'll check for the hint. Octal is not the correct answer. So you see, right? So we tried base 8. This is the octal one. So it's not the right one. So hexadecimal is the correct one. So which is base 16. If password hash starts with $6, what format is it? Password starts with $6. Password starts with $6. I guess it's our interpreter says Linux SHA-256. What format it is? SHA-256. No, I guess here if you see the asterisk it has more, so it's not SHA-256. If a password what hash starts with, it's 1*6. SHA-512. No, what format is Linux SHA-256 with Linux or SHA-52 as password starting with or interpreted as hash with Linux SHA-256. So is there anything like Linux SHA-256? Let's see. Linux SHA-256. No. So or else what I will try is I saw somewhere here where it is hashes SHA-256. I somewhere saw, but I missed it. I don't know. What hash is used for Linux password? It's MD5. No, not MD5. $6. Where is it? Okay, let's see this one. Getting hashcat. Okay, using the password salt, making a hash file. I don't want this. So we have a Quora question here. So from the research room, I recognize that question. Where is it? I couldn't find the answer. I would not give you the answer to. I'm not going to outright provide the answer here. Instead, I'm going to suggest that you learn what the room is teaching, how to research. So SHA-512 crypt. If you watch the video provided in the introductory researching room, you would know the answer. SHA-512 crypt. Okay, so it's SHA-512 crypt. Okay, so going for task 3, vulnerability searching. Often in hacking, you will come across software that might be open to exploitation. For example, content management systems such as WordPress, Fuel, CMS, Ghost, etc. are frequently used to make setting up website easier, and many of these are vulnerable to various attacks. So that where would we look if we wanted to exploit specific software? So okay, so generally it's easy to configure, right? So the content management system such as this WordPress, Fuel, CMS, we'll just go with like we'll install that WordPress locally and we'll change some configuration files and we'll just bring up and we'll use some versions. So if some version has specific exploit, how we'll find out the answers, like what are the vulnerabilities that are present in that specific version, so that we can find through exploit db, nvd, cv, Mitre. Okay, so for exploit db tends to be very useful for hackers as it often actually contains exploits that can be downloaded and used straight out of the box. So it tends to be the one of the first stops where you encountered software in a CTF or pen test. Okay, so if you are inclined towards the CLI on Linux, Kali comes pre-installed with a tool called Searchsploit, which allows you to search exploit DB from your own machine. This is offline and works using a downloaded version of the database. Okay, so let's take an example. Say we are playing a CTF and we came across a website. Welcome to Fuel CMS and version is 1.4. Okay, so well, this is quite obviously Fuel CMS. Usually it won't be this obvious, but hey, we'll work with what we have got. I'm using the command searchsploit fuel cms to search for exploits. Let's see. It's searchsploit fuel cms. So we'll give space. Okay, so we got the exploit things. So fuel cms 1.4.1 remote execution, SQL injection, everything, and we'll see what they're asking. Okay, so
they are highlighting this 1.4.1 remote execution, which is 4713.8.py. Okay, if you prefer doing this in website, we can also go through that exploitdb.com, and we can search in the title box QLCMS. So we got the exploit, right? So actually using this exploit is without, sorry, actually using the exploit is out with the scope of this room, but you can see the process. But currently we're not going to do it. Okay, so what we are going to do is pay particular attention to the CVE numbers. You will need them for the questions. The format will be like CVE and what is the year it has been found and the number. Okay, so what is the CVE for 2020 cross-site scripting vulnerability found in WP forms? So now what I'm going to do is I'll just go through the exploit DB website, and we are going to search for the cross-site scripting vulnerability in WP forms, that is 2020. Okay, so where we can see the title, so we are going to do a search exploit manual, no, so what we are going to do is WP forms. Did we get anything? Yes, so WP forms we got, and the cross-site scripting we got two. Okay, so this is authenticated. Okay, these are different versions, but it's in the year 2020. So we'll open this first one. Okay, we don't have a CVE number for this because it is not verified. So here we have a CVE number which is a 2020 and 10385. So what we need to do is CVE hyphen 2020 hyphen 10398. Let me check. 10385. It's 10385. Okay, and also there was a local privilege escalation vulnerability found in the Debian version of Apache Tomcat back in 2016. What's the CVE for this vulnerability? Apache Tomcat local privilege escalation. So now what we are going to do is Apache Tomcat. Anything? See, Apache Tomcat. Okay, we got something here, right? But we need to look for year 2016. I mean 2016, right? And also we need to search for platform Linux, maybe Linux. Let's see, we have the local privilege escalation. Okay, this is the Debian based distros, so we need this one, and we are looking for that one. So it's 1240 2016 1240. What is the very first CVE found in VLC media player? Okay, so now we are going to this, we are going to uncheck it, and it's VLC media. They're talking about the very first bug. Okay, so back in 2013, it's denial of service, but they will consider that as a, I'm not sure. Let's see. So they don't have the CVE. Okay, and file memory corruption. No. Okay, let's see. Crash this POC. No CVE. Okay, AVS crash. We don't have memory file. we have some CV file memory corruption 2014 3441, 2014 3441. No, that's not the correct one. So we'll search for any other thing. Stack Overflow, buffer overflow. Oh, okay, sorry. So here we have multiple results. So we need to go for the the very last one, which is this one. Okay, 2007 0017. It's 2007 0017. Yes. And if you wanted to exploit a 2020 buffer overflow in the sudo program, which CVE would you use? Buffer overflow, exploit a 2020 buffer overflow. So we'll go back and we'll search for buffer overflow. It's 2020, but this is on sudo, right? No, we don't have anything. So we'll check with sudo. Okay, we don't have anything. Buffer overflow in the sudo program. So we'll remove 2020. Let's search for sudo. Yes, we have something, but 2020 sudo buffer overflow, but it's not verified. But anyway, let's see. We have a CV? Yes, 2019, but they asked for 2020, right? So we need to search for 2020. So it's 2019. Sudo overflow. They have sudo, but why 2020 is not working? Okay, let's search for buffer overflow. Maybe this will give an answer. No, not yet. Sudo at least. I don't know why it's not coming. Okay, let's see this one. It's 2021. This one is 2021. How about this one? This is also 2021. 2019. And this is also 2019. So we didn't find anything related to 2020. Or maybe we are searching the wrong thing. If you wanted to exploit a 2020 buffer overflow in the sudo program, sudo program, it's not giving any results. No. So we'll search here sudo. It's the same thing. We are not getting anything apart from this. So what we are going to do is maybe we'll check with a different website, either NVD or CVE Mitre. Okay, NVD. So what we are going to do is sudo. We'll search for the sudo buffer overflow. Try a product name, vendor name, CV name, or an OL query. So it's taking time. Meanwhile, I will come here, search CVE list. Did we get anything? So sudo. So in 2020, so here we have some 2020 privilege escalation, these are the privilege escalation. We need to look for buffer overflow. Let me check for buffer overflow. So we have on 2019. Okay, so 2019. Let's try this. CV 2019. Actually, here the bug was found in 2019, but it was publicly disclosed on 2020. So that's why they asked about a 2020 buffer overflow. So we have completed task 3 and going for task 4, which is manual pages. So it's also known as man page. So generally, if you haven't already worked in Linux, we need to take a look at the Linux fundamental module, which is coming up next in that beginner's path. So anyway, we are going to cover it, I assume. And so one of the many useful feature of the Linux is the inbuilt man command. So it will give you the access to the manual pages for most of the tools directly inside your terminal. So we just don't need to search in Google on how to use this command. So it's completely present in the man pages of the Linux. I mean, it's offline mode only. Okay, so if you want to say, if you want to connect to a remote computer using SSH, but we don't know how the syntax, right? So what we'll do is we can just simply give man SSH to get the manual page for SSH. So similarly, like we can give for any other command. Let me show you. So if you see here, so man page for SSH. So it's coming up right. So generally SSH is an open SSH remote login client. So we can take a remote login. Otherwise, let's say if you want to use some command like ls and what are the examples it has, so we can search, I mean we can give the man ls command and it will show the list of options that are being supported and what is the, I mean how we need to use the command. Okay, so generally it is like ls option and the file name. Okay, so these are the options like -a, -A. Okay, so if you see here, -a will give do not ignore entries starting with dot. So generally in Linux, what it will do is like if I give ls, we are seeing generally the file names that starts. I mean generally the file names, right? Whether it can be a directory or a folder. There are some hidden files in this current directory, I assume. Let's see. Yeah. So if you see ls-a, it's showing all the files including that starts with the dot. Okay, that's what they mentioned in that man page. Okay, so we can see in the description that the syntax for using ssh is, so they have given the syntax like how I mean how to log into a remote machine using the ssh. It's username at host address. Okay, so for example, if you wanted to display the version number of ssh, what we need to do, will need, I mean we need to look into the man page of the ssh and we'll see like -v option will be there which displays the version number and we can exit. So it's SSH hyphen V. You can see, right? It's Debian. Okay. So okay. So now what we are going to do is SCP is a tool used to copy files from one computer to another. What switch would you use to copy an entire directory? So man SSH, we need to copy a directory, right? Entire directory. So what option? Sorry, it's not SSH, it's SCP. Man SCP. So do we have any option? We need to check -3 copies between two remote hosts. We don't need that. We are looking for a complete directory copy. Okay. So -b is not -b. Limit SSH -o. No. So do we have anything? P port. So here, if you look at it, -r recursively copy entire directories. So -r is the correct option. -r. Fdisk is a command used to view and alter the partitioning scheme used on your hard drive. What switch would you use to list the current partitions on the Fdisk? So man Fdisk. So current partitions. So what we'll do is we will just do a search, list the partitions for the specified device. So here we have current. No, that's not we are looking for. The another one is script. No, not this one. Okay, current partition. Let's see -l maybe. List, right? List the partitions. Let's see whether it's the correct answer or not. -l. It's correct. So Nano is an easy to use text editor for Linux. There are arguably better editors, Vim being the obvious choice. However, Nano is a great one to start with. What switch would you use to make a backup when opening a file with Nano? So, Nano will search for a backup. So -B. So we need to use -B. Netcat is a basic tool used to manually send and receive network requests. What command would you use to start Netcat in listen mode using port 12345? So we need to start in listen mode and with the port. Okay. So what we are going to do is man nc. So we need to listen, right? So if you see here, there is an option nc-l-p port. So we need to check whether what is the -l refers to. Okay, so L is listen mode. So now we got the answer. So it's nc-l listen mode, and on which port number? -p12345. Okay. And going to the final thoughts, you may have been told in school that there are good sources and bad sources of information. That may be true when it comes to essays and referencing information. However, it's my pleasure to state it does not apply here. Any information can potentially be useful, so feel free to use blogs, Wikipedia, or anything that contains what you're looking for. Having completed this room, you hopefully now have established the basis of methodology to tackle research questions that you come across by yourself. The vast majority of rooms on TryHackMe can be solved purely using knowledge found on Google. So please take the opportunity to improve your skills by Googling any problems you come across. As a follow-up to this room, complete CMNatics Google Docking room to learn some advanced Google tricks. Okay, so we'll do this later, and I'm just going to complete it. Okay, so now we have finished the room. Okay, so let's see you later. Thank you. Bye bye.